So for the blog today, I will be talking about the Jessica Yi book. This kind of be looking at what I believe to be the main message here. Um, she says at the beginning of the book that it's not a hate of academia. Um, that's debatable, but let's just say a lot of the pieces in the book talk about how the authors have issues with the education system. Now, I don't know. Like at school, you obviously are going to go to school with a lot of diverse people from very different backgrounds. At UVic, for example, you may have students whose parents are millionaires, and you will also have students whose parents may make few $100s a week. So it varies, and that's just school, you know. Maybe you go to a Ivy League school, you're not going to run into a lot of, poor people, and I can see how you're going to school, get your degree, get a job, and all of a sudden you're in the upper class and you're oppressing poor people, and you were poor and you didn't want to do that, and so I can see that. But in terms of feminism and how the movement's going, school is a good place. The education system, these universities, they're good places to come up with ideas and theories on how things could change. Now, at the same time, I can see how you got a theory over here, and then you got the real world and how things are really done. Theory may not match up to how the real world is, and maybe you want to change that, but how do you do that when you're in a classroom or in a building safe environment all day long? So I think what needs to happen is that these two opposing groups, I think, need to come together. Now, one thing that I was not very familiar with was hierarchy, how that works, how sub-hierarchies work. I guess I was familiar with hierarchies, but sub-hierarchies, and I could definitely see one going on here between intellectuals and non-intellectuals. So what really needs to happen is that these two feminist groups to come together, and if they're able to do that, then I believe that they will definitely have a greater chance to enact change. Because yeah, sure, maybe you got a theory, but it's not really gonna work out in the real world. But you could get some opinions from people who, feminists who are actually out there and who are trying to change how things are done. Now, that's not to say that people in working for universities aren't trying to make change, but they're coming at it from one point of view. And then you have these people over here, and they're trying to actually do the change. So if they're able to come together, and the people who are writing these theories and these ways to change things can talk to the people who are actually out there and dealing with kind of stuff, then it's just going to be a snowball effect where the theories will wrap around how these people who are actually out there and want to make it easier for women to, let's say, get abortions, or women to control their own bodies, work at places for the same amount as money as men for doing the same type of work. So I think that theory and practice can come together, and so with this book, like in the one reading about I'm not class queer, or I'm not class mobile, I'm class queer, she talked about how she would go to school and she felt like, my mom struggled so hard, was a single mother and everything like that, and I don't want to go to school and get into the upper class and not have to worry about that, and then kind of continue the cycle of just oppressing the poor. So, like, that's understandable, but at the same time, if you just would come together and all these hierarchies, sub-hierarchies, or whatever, just need to smash them down so that you're able to better come up with a way of actually changing the way that things are right now. And I just don't see that happening when you have, you know, third wave feminists, fourth wave feminists, first wave feminists, second wave feminists. You have anti-intellectuals, you have intellectuals, you have all these different types, and it's really like a hierarchy, you know. And you had that one piece in the book about the porn star who wanted to be a sex advice column. She got hired by a magazine, and this other woman who has a university degree really wanted it. But these are just small issues on the grand scale. So if you could just put yourself outside for a second and just think about how could we create a world where women are treated equally, come together and try to come up with a solution, that would be best. It doesn't matter if you're well educated, if you're not well educated, if you're rich, if you're poor, black, white, doesn't matter. And at the same time, I'm in a classroom, I'm doing this for a class, this is an idea, this is a theory, it might not necessarily work, you might not be able to get all these people to come together and come up with a solution. So I can totally understand that. I can kind of totally understand where I'm trying to come up with a solution on some theory, but it definitely wouldn't hurt if you made the feminist movement in a way where all these different types of groups of people weren't just so spread out across the board, and where you could gather them together in one spot and where they could come up with solutions to problems. And yeah, that's really all I got for this week's vlog, so hope you enjoyed it.